وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All right. Who knows the first thing we're going to say right now? No.
Not sure, but
Only know. That's the question. Not guess, but knows. Who knows? Anybody have yaqeen what I'm about to say right now? Give it a shot. Okay, who can take a guess what I'm about to say right now?
the definition of Muslim.
Okay, that's not it. Who memorized, getting closer, warmer? Who can take a guess what I'm about to say?
First class.
What did we mention in the last class? Review, revision. The power, the impact, the magic, quote unquote, of review and revision. Review and revise. The knowledge will remain, will not leave you. More you review, more you revise, the longer the knowledge stays with you. The deeper grasp, the better, stronger grasp, the deeper understanding and comprehension of the knowledge you will have. مُذَاكَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ حَيَاتُهُ. They would say, pious predecessors would say, reviewing knowledge is the lifeblood of knowledge. It's the life, hayat. Knowledge lives through review and revision. Review and revision by yourself. Review and revision with your classmates, colleagues, comrades. And review and revision with the teacher. Those are three categories, three types, three levels, three tiers I'm giving to you. People ask how to study, how to be a student of knowledge, how to memorize, how. It's all there. You study and you review with yourself, by yourself. You study and review with your classmates. Let's get together. Let's review last week's class. Let's prepare for next week's class. And most importantly, you spar with your teacher, with your trainer. You review and you revise with your ustad. If you do all three, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a slim to zero chance of you missing out and losing out on the material, on the knowledge. Right? Correct way of studying. You have to review, you have to revise. I can't stress in words how important that is. Okay. So, what did we speak on last week? Briefly, points. That's another way of studying, is learning how to revise and how to review. So, Hasan Hadith. Hadith Hasan. What does the word mean? What does the term mean? طيب, جزاكم خيرا. Perfect answer. What else we discussed? Hadith ضعيف. What is a weak hadith? What's meant by it? Jazakallahu khairan. What else did we discuss last week? The conditions, the standards, things that must be fulfilled, must be satisfied. And then there are things which cannot exist, cannot be that. Intifai, ijabi, intifai. All right, Tayyib. What else did we mention last week? Sahih from Hasan. What are the differences or difference between the two? Jazakallahu khairan. Anything else? Anything else? Go ahead, Afi. Chain and narration. Its importance. An example of it. What it looks like. What it sounds like. And how it must be there. It must be there. Khairan, inshaAllah. All right. Anything else?
The
4 stages of the prohibition of khamr?
4 stages. Who got the answer? Who got the answer? Who's getting a prize tonight? Or whenever, huh? Long time. You guys took too long. What are the 4 stages? We mentioned 3. I gave you the 3. Allah mentioning the good and the bad of khamr, the prohibition of drinking when it's time to pray, being drunk when it's time to pray, and the final stage is the absolute prohibition and condemning of khamr, is that it is prohibited. Allah mentioned that after He declared it to be filthy and dirty from the handiwork of Satan. No good in it, period. Avoid it in order for you to, etc. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ الشَّيْطَانُ. The shaitan only wants, by you drinking and gambling and doing this, is يُوقِعَ بَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةَ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ, to cause you to hate each other, to kill each other, to curse each other when you drink and when you gamble, or يَصُدَّكُمْ, and prevent you and hinder you from Allah's remembrance, from the prayer, from the good. Will you then stop? Is that not enough for you, Matthew? How many lessons do you need? It's dirty, morally. It prevents you from this, it stops you from that, it causes you to do this. Will you then wake up? Is that then enough for you? We said there was a stage which isn't too known by too many people concerning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about khamr in the Quran. Anybody got it?
I have it, but it's from the brother Winston. He gave it to me. So.
Okay, no problem. That's your isnad. Khayr. La ba's. Alright, bismillah.
Mr. Ayah, ومن ثمرات النخيل والأعناب
ومن ثمرات النخيل والأعناب تتخذون منه سكرا ورزقا حسنا
إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون.
لآية لقوم يعقلون. Surah, verse? An-Nahl, 16, the B, verse 66. Is you sure about that, or what do you think?
I'll get help from the brother. 66, 67. He's saying 67.
Okay, and what does that mean in English?
Should I go to the translation?
Would be a good idea.
From the fruits of the palm trees and
from the fruits of the palm trees
and grapevines.
You
take intoxicants and good provision.
Good provision.
Indeed, and that is a sign for people who reason.
Indeed, and that is a sign for people who reason. People who use their minds and their brains. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounty through these different fruits and vegetables and trees. Watini, zaytun, the olive and the fig, the date, all of these different things that grow and sprout, that taste good, that are healthy, that are nutritious, that are means of livelihood and profit, that you use for medicine, healing, you use for candles, beeswax. The bee gives much more than just honey, right? Jewelry, pearls from the ocean and the sea, the oyster, the clam, right? So many different benefits that you get from these different things that grow in the water, on the earth, from the sky. Allah gave all of them to you for your benefit, O man. Indeed, that is a sign for those who use reason. People who use their minds. It's a wake-up call. So what does this verse mean? What's the highlighting point from the verse? What did Allah say about khamr?
That is good from it.
There's something that you take from these trees. And that was the earliest stage. And then came what? The progressive stages, the gradual stages. And the final stage is what? Avoid it. Everyone understand this or not? And obviously, this isn't the topic of our discussion tonight. But it's very important when you give dawah, and you give dawah to different people of different walks of life, you understand how to speak with them and how to talk with them. Because somebody's going to come along and say, well, I drink wine, my culture, my family, blah, blah, etc., etc. There can be some good in it, there can be some profit in it, there can be some benefit in it, and I'm sure it tastes good. But, and ultimately in Jannah, etc., 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 right? All right, thank you. Jazakallah khairan. I don't know if that qualifies you getting the prize, Yusuf. I mean, techniques and I don't know, there's different things you're using in the chain of narration. You know? What do you think? No, he deserves it or not?
Munsif gets it.
Where's Munsif?
Allahu A'lam.
Okay. So who gets it? Who gets the prize? Yusuf gets it?
I get the prize. I'm breaking a half with him.
Maybe, who said you can break it in half? It may be something that you can't break. It may be something that has to remain in one piece.
It's a lollipop, you're gonna...
What if it's something living? Give me a pet. No, so imagine the two women argued over whose job it was. And he said, I'll do what? I'll cut it in half. She said, no, it's hers. Just, right? All right, Jazakallah khairan. Khairan, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Hopefully you benefit from the research. And inshallah, you guys will get what's promised to you by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, anything else that we mentioned last week before we get started tonight? Anything else?
Significance of rain.
I'm sorry?
Significance of rain.
The significance of rain. Jazakallah khairan. It was thunderstorm last week. Fight, anything else? That's it? That's everything? All right, let's move forward with tonight's lesson. Who has memorization? Man and Hafiz. Matthew, what you got? Bismillah, give it a shot. هو المقطوع
والمسند متصل الاسناد من راويه حتى المصطفى ولم يمل وما بصحيح لراو يتصل اسناده للمصطفى فالمتصل مسلسل قل ما على وصف اتى.
طيب, Jazakallah khairan. Good, very good. Accepted. Anyone else? Anyone else memorized? Ahad, Bismillah.
Continue or not?
You can continue if you like.
مسلسل قل ما على وصف أتى مثل أما والله ينباني الفتى كذاك قد حدثنيه قائما أو بعد حدثني تبسما عزيز مروي اثنين أو ثلاثة مشهور مروي فوق ما ثلاثة معا عنك عن سعيد عن كرم فمبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم وكل ما قلت رجاله على وضده ذاك الذي قد نزل وما أضفته إلى الأصحاب من قول وفعل فهو موقوف زك.
طيب, Jazakallah khairan. Ahsantum. All right, let's move forward with tonight's class, inshallah. So before we get back to moving on to the next lines, a few more pieces of material information I'd like to share with you. All right, this here is another explanation of the book, a more classical explanation, an older scholar of the past. This is my translation, this isn't my work. The Bayquniyyah poem, an introduction to Hadith terminology. An introduction to Hadith terminology. Imam Al-Bayquniyyah, the author of the explanation is Sheikh Hassan Al-Mashat. May Allah have mercy upon him. Those are the printers and the publishers. we're benefiting from their work. May Allah reward them well on our behalf. 1436, all rights preserved, etc. Dedication for my parents. Obviously, the PDF was free online. Hopefully, the translators don't mind us using and benefiting from their work. And if they do, apologies in advance. We hope that they'll get the reward on our behalf. List of figures. All right? Definition of hadith, sahih hadith, example, right? Etc., etc., etc. All right, listen to this. Our volunteer reader, Fadl Faisal, King Faisal, the narrating.
The narrating of a trustworthy person from another trustworthy person, along with a continuous link until it reaches the prophet. The prophet Allah bless him and given peace has been made unique to the Muslims as opposed to the people of the upper religion.
As we said before, the chain of narration, information being preserved, protected, us being able to trace back why and what and how concerning our religion to our prophet directly, scientifically, with accuracy and confidence and certainty is something that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave to this ummah exclusively. And it doesn't exist in the other religions. There are different people, there are different middlemen, the chains are cut, severed, broken, full of unknown people between you and the apostles and Christ. Between you and this guru, or this saint, or this yogi, or this spiritual whatever. Between this rabbi, between this one and that one. That's a fact. Only Islam and the Muslims have the full power of the isnad and full sway. Other religions, bits and pieces, cut off. And so many things from the fundamentals of those other religions, which is just missing. Gaping hole, not a small little rift, wide open, missing. Who, why? Christ said it, Buddha said it. That's it. Not our religion, alhamdulillah. So we study and learn sciences of hadith and its terminology. You should realize that by Allah's permission, you're on the path and journey of continuing the preservation of this religion. And then when you learn the interpretation of the hadiths and their proper meaning, you're also continuing that tradition, that long-standing tradition, right? And we went over this before. All right, preface. And the reason why I'm bringing this other explanation, introductory words, is that these translators here, they have given different charts, Muslims, stay with me, charts, graphs, and illustrations, which will make everything we did in the class even clearer. All right? Even clearer. So basic terminology, chain of narration, isnad, and or a synonym of isnad is sanad. You can say sanad or you can say isnad. Every single Muslim should know what a sanad is. Basic knowledge, no Muslim is excused for being ignorant of. You're a baker, a shoemaker, a hawker, glass blower, a merchant, whatever you do, regardless of your level of intelligence as a Muslim, you should know these basics. Hadith, going back to the Prophet, something he said, did, allowed, how he looked, how he dressed, how he behaved, and it has two main parts. The chain, the text. Sanad, matan. In the discussion, fundamental obligatory, or fundamental obligation. Chain narration here, text, matan there. Clear, Musaf? Alright? So, here we have a chain, and we want to get into this, Yusuf, inshallah. I'm going to explain this, the translation, then the text. Alright? Okay. So, we'll put this on pause for 1 second. Let's go to another source now. Another piece of information I want to share with you guys. All right. We need a reader, so I'm about to read it in Arabic for us. Who's our volunteer in Arabic? Bismillah, Noor. Barakallah.
قال الشيخ الإمام الحافظ أبو عبد الله محمد بن إسماعيل بن إبراهيم بن مغيرة البخاري رحمه الله تعالى آمين باب كيف كان بدء الوحي على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وقول الله أجابكم إنا أوحينا إليك كما أوحينا إلى نوح والنبيين من بعده.
Wahid, was Adam a prophet? Okay, what's the proof that he was a prophet? What's the evidence? Alright, we're going to come back to that Wahid. Here, in the Al-Haynaika, Imam Bukhari, the first thing he mentions after the chapter heading is a verse from the Quran. From Surah Nur? Mahad? ها لا سورة النساء أحسنت جزاك الله خيرا النساء chapter 4 إنا أوحينا إليك O Muhammad Wahid, stay with me. We have revealed to you, O Muhammad, كما أوحينا إلى نوح, just as we have revealed to Noah والنبيين من بعده, and the prophets who came after him. You see where I'm going with this or not? So one could say, for argument's sake, if Adam is the first man created and the first prophet, why doesn't Allah say, كما أوحينا إلى آدم والنبيين من بعده? What's the significance of Allah saying we gave revelation to Noah and the prophets after him?
Because Adam didn't get a revelation.
Because then how is he a prophet?
Every prophet doesn't get revelation.
Every prophet doesn't get revelation. I can't say whether I agree or disagree with that. Diplomatic, politically correct. I can't say I agree with that, Wahid, or disagree. Fadl. No, but Allah didn't say Rusul. No, what does Allah say? Nabiyyin, not Rusul. So that's totally weak answer. Right, we're not here to discuss the prophets and the messengers. I'm just showing you how when you read and you benefit, you take the benefits as they come. You take the what? The benefits just as they come, right from in front of you. This is from the barakah of reading Sahih Bukhari, is that you're going to gain 10 different facts. You're going to gain so much knowledge by accident. By accident. We're not even here to discuss this, and it's going to come to you. And this is one of the reasons why we have the unfortunate reality, many people, different speakers, imams, or whatever, they warn people from reading Sahih Bukhari. It's one of the reasons. Are you going to get confused? It's too difficult. It's above your level, etc. Maybe, maybe not. You're going to go outside and decapitate someone because you read Sahih Bukhari. Not in the Quran, though. Quran doesn't mention about cutting the hand off the thief. Of course, the Quran doesn't say kill them when you find them. Of course, the Quran doesn't say beat women. The rationale that you're going to be misled if you read this book, the same thing can be said about what? Hence, you shouldn't read the what? The Quran. Just follow us. Just listen to what we have to tell you. That's extremely dangerous. It's a very dangerous line of thought right there. Any book can be misinterpreted. Anybody can take something and run with it and go with it, etc. That can happen with anything. All right? So be careful. All right? One of the reasons why people warn from reading Sahih Bukhari is because people are afraid that they'll lose their monopoly on knowledge. If you start reading from the organic source, it's going to be hard for you to eat the genetically modified junk. It's going to be hard for you to sit there and listen to them. What are you talking about, bro? I just read Sahih Bukhari. And it clearly stated this is what the Prophet did when he prayed. Clearly. And you want me to just sit and just listen to what you're telling me? It doesn't work like that. So controlling the people is easy and simple, the more ignorant that they are. And the more reliant they are upon you, your interpretation, the easier it is to control them. So be mindful of this. Bukhari and other books will give you all types of knowledge, just like that. Alright? So Imam Bukhari, he starts his book with the verse from the Quran and shows you how the Quran and Sunnah go hand in hand. طيب نور قال
حدثنا الحميدي
حدثنا الحميدي.
عبد الله بن الزبير قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثنا يحيى بن سعيد الأنصاري قال أخبرني محمد بن إبراهيم التيمي أنه سمع علقمة بن وقاص الليثي يقول سمعت عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه على منبر قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى دنيا يصيبها أو إلى امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. باب حدثنا عبد الله.
All right. So here, this is Sahih Bukhari. Here is the English. This is the what? What do we have here? This is the chain of narration. So between Imam al-Bukhari and between the hadith, these are only based on intentions, based off of intentions, or how many men. Number one is Al-Humaydi, whose name was? Abdullah bin Zubayr. That's Humaydi. That's Bukhari's what? Teacher. You read the isnad backwards, from its end to its beginning. Imam al-Bukhari is telling you, oh reader of my book, your book Narrator, right? The T. I got this from my teacher whose name is Humaydi. And Humaydi was once a student of a man whose name was Sufyan. Thawri or Ibn Uyayna? Ibn Uyayna. Who narrated from who? Yahya ibn Al-Ansari. Who narrated from? Muhammad ibn Ibrahim At-Taymi. Who narrated from? Al-Qala, the son of Waqas al-Laythi. Who said, I? Who? Umar. Al-Khattab was on the pulpit. There's another benefit of reading Sahih Bukhari directly. Bigger and better benefit than reading 40 hadith Nawawi is that you now know where the context of a hadith is. Umar didn't just say this in the sitting. Umar wasn't on horseback or camelback. But Umar, he told the companions, we hear from the Messenger of Allah where? On the member. It's a benefit now that you can only get from source. You can only get this type of vegetable from the farmer's market. You can't get it at the traditional mainstream market. You gotta go out of your way, you gotta go to the farmer's market if you want this type of fruit. Period. Understand? It's a benefit of eating organically. Moving forward, Umar radiallahu anhu said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, and now we run into the what? We've been reading the hadith. Hadathana al-Humaydi is the what? That's the hadith. Understand? Hadith has what? 2 parts. We've been reading the hadith. This is the second and last part of the hadith. The deeds are what? Indeed actions. Go ahead, Akhi. You wanted to read? Yeah, go ahead. Indeed actions.
Indeed, actions are by intention, and each person will have that which they intended. The one who migrated for financial reasons or to marry a woman, then their migration will be for that which they intended.
Alright, to the end of the hadith. Sanad, Matan. Alright? Not yet. We'll get there. We'll get to the questions, inshallah. Okay. So that's one benefit from this explanation. Then they go into the poem with explanatory footnotes selected from Taqlirat al-Saniyah of Sheikh Hassan al-Mashat and diagrams. Watch out for the diagrams, Faisal. Diagrams, okay? 8 diagrams. And Abu Hashim. Bayquniyyah poem. Abu Dawood. Alright? Yeah. Okay. What do we have here? Hadith can be a what? Something the Prophet said, such as?
Words.
Such as what? Give it a real life example. No, we did that. That's too much of a freebie. But that's a good answer. You. Akhi. Yeah, you. Bismillah. Bismillah. We'll come back. Fadli Akhi. Yeah. That's right. I know I put you on the spot intentionally. Fadli Akhi. Fadal. Come on, guys. What's a hadith? Something the Prophet said. Anything.
You have nothing good to say.
There you go. If you have nothing good to say, then what? Keep silent. Beautiful. Is that sound? Is that fabricated? Is it true? What's important is it's something that is attributed to the Prophet. That's what it means. A hadith is something that is attributed to the Prophet said. It could be a total lie. But as long as we're saying that the Prophet said it, it is called a hadith. Everybody understand this? And if it's not a statement of the Prophet, something that's attributed to him, then it's going to be a what? An action the Prophet did. Such as what?
Pray, for example, what?
He prayed at night. He made additional prayers. That's an action that he did. All right? Nothing's physical action. Another example of an action, prophetic action, something that people say the Prophet did is what? Shaved his head. What else?
Read the Ma'udatain before he sleeps.
He read Falaq and An-Nas, stead upon his body before he slept. All right. Tacit approval. What's that mean? What's a tacit approval? In English, what does that word mean? Tacit.
Something he saw, and he approved. He didn't say anything. So
Studying Islamic knowledge makes your English better. That's a fact. That's a true fact. Gets you sharp in geography. We saw that, right? The countries. Transact what?
Translating.
He never even heard of that before the Hadith class. This is a fact. Nothing but good comes from studying Islamic knowledge. Inshallah. Be in the night time. Alright, something that the Prophet approved of. Father?
He sent out somebody to purchase a sheep. He gave him a coin. And the person came back with 2 sheep. The person traded throughout the day. So hence, because of that, if that was a wrong thing the person did, the Prophet would have said something. Because
He allowed the action. Tayyib, anything else? He heard the companions saying that. Alright, anything else? Something he allowed the people to do. And if it was wrong, he would have said something. What did the Prophet allow the companions to do?
There was a person who read the Ikhlas.
He read Surah to the Ikhlas every rak'ah. The people complained. Right? What happened to that? Description. A description of the Prophet. He had a long beard. Not a shaven face, not a trimmed beard, not as different madhabs and scholars say, as long as you have some hair on your face. The Prophet's beard, we can agree on, was full. That's a fact. That's a physical description of the Prophet, of the Nabi al-Kareem. Alayhi salatu wasalam. What else? What else about the Prophet's beard?
He had a few white hairs.
Just a few gray hair when he passed away. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Just a few. What else about the Prophet's beard? Huh? Just description, not what he said, a description. It was dense, all right? Not long, but it was also long and dense, okay? What happened to that? What about the moral descriptions? Was the Prophet's moral character like? A description not of his being, his height, his complexion, the length of his fingers, his feet. What was his moral description? He was very shy. What else? He's honest. He's never lied. Tayyib, what else? Walk with the pace. That's a physical description or moral? Tayyib, moral descriptions. That's physical. Even though you smile for a reason, but that's still physical. Trustworthy. Amin. Before he was a prophet, the people trusted him. Right? He was generous. Kana ajwad an-nas. Right? What happened to that? He was brave on the battlefield. What happened to that? What happened to that? So this is all included in the meaning of hadith. The word hadith linguistically means what? Mahad, this is for you. Fadda. What's the word hadith mean linguistically in the Arabic language?
Story.
A story. A narrative. A discourse. Such as what?
What we بني الإسلام على خمس.
La, no. What we talking about language, the meaning of the word, not religion, not faith. You're talking to a Christian from Jordan, a Jew from Yemen, an atheist from Arabia, but who speaks the pure Arabic tongue.
Story of Yusuf?
Such as what? What is it? What is poetry, history? What does it say? Story of Yusuf, Hadith Yusuf. هل أتاك حديث غاشية؟ هل أتاك حديث موسى؟ هل أتاك حديث المكرمين? The story of this and of that. That's when hadith is used as a noun. As far as if the word hadith is used as an adjective, then it means what? New. Exactly. ثوب حديث يعني جديد. التقنية الحديثة, new technology. Everybody clear on this? That's what it linguistically means. What's the technical meaning of the hadith? Anything that is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ of a quick from the hip statement, boom, boom, boom. Anything that's what? Authentically proven? No, I never said that. I never said authentically proven. لم نقل هذا صح نو؟ أبدا لم نشترط الصحة بالثبوت. وإنما أقول إنما قلنا إيش؟ ما إيش؟ أضيف حتى ولو كذبا فإنه يسمى في المصطلح إيش؟ يسمى حديث. Anything that is attributed to the Prophet. Statement, action, approval, physical, moral description, and this science is called a what? It's called a hadith. You with me? Anything that is attributed what? It's the Prophet. Somebody, Muslim, non-Muslim, malicious, non-Muslim, is saying Muhammad said. You get it or not? Muhammad said. That's called a what? Hadith. Even if it's a total what? Total lie. But they're attaching it to who? You get it or not? Muhammad allowed this. The Prophet Muhammad dressed like this. Sound, weak, fabricated, good meaning. You heard of it, you didn't heard of it. Whatever, it's called a hadith. You have to lock down the fundamentals. Lock them down. Solidify them. I want them to be firm in your mind. Drill and train yourself. Alright? Tie you up. Okay? Alright? Make you stay awake. Beat you with a cane until you get the point. Alright? What the definition of hadith is. Alright, let's move forward. Okay. The first of them is Sahih. وهو ما اتصل إسناده ولم يشذ أو يعال يرويه عدل ضابط عن مثله معتمد في ضبطه ونقله. The first of them is the Sahih, and it is that which is connected. Its chain does not contain irregularity nor weakness. That's the translation. لم يشذ أو يعال. يعني it's not the sound translation. لم يشذ irregularity وبعدين أو يعال. هذا يعني لا يستقيم. اليعال ليس the weakness. إنما عند شيء خفي قادح يخل بالصحة مع أن ظاهر الخبر السلامة والخلو لكن داخل فيه هذا يتنبأ لهذا. يرويه عدل, an upright and precise, accurate person narrates it from one like him. عن مثله معتمد, while being reliable in his preciseness and transmission. Alright, the conditions of a sound hadith we said are how many? 5 or 4, give or take. Number 1, has to have continuous chain. The links of those chain, of that chain, the nature of those men or women have to be what? Upright. And have to be precise. And it have to be, the narration itself can't include any what? Irregularity. Nor any hidden defects. And if a hadith fulfills these conditions, it is called sahih. But the fuqaha, they don't use this hadith. This madhab didn't quote this hadith. This imam, I've never heard of it. None of that what? Matters. The scholars of hadith and their science, that's all that matters. You understand? This is their science and their definition. The fuqaha say that the hadith can be accepted with just 2 conditions or 3. That's fine. But right now we're discussing what? Hadith science. Everybody with me or not? So 3 of these conditions must be present, and 2 of these conditions cannot what? Be present. The last 2 have to be a what? An X. The last 2 have to be missing. They can't be there. The hadith cannot be irregular, and the hadith cannot contain any hidden defects. And we explained the tea, the soda. Mufti's favorite drink is a soft drink. Indeed, that will be what? Irregular. Not necessarily false. It's false in reality, but it's outwardly, it's something that's wrong. Even though everything seems to be what? Sound. Narrator A, narrator B, narrator C, everyone looks good, upright, precise, religious, etc. But the text itself is what? Irregular. His favorite drink is soda? Nah, that don't sound right. Every time I see him, he's drinking what?
Hot.
Favorite drink? I like soda. I drink soda every now and then. My favorite drink is soda. Even though every narrator is good and sound, somebody somewhere down the line made it what? A mistake. Somebody's missing in the chain. Something went wrong. There's no way that you memorize that correctly going back to Muhammad ibn Munir stating his favorite drink is soda. And this goes to show that in order to understand these conditions and implement these conditions, you have to have a wealth of knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ's authentic sunnah. To know when you hear something, the Prophet did what? I don't know about that. I don't what? Don't sound right that the Prophet would say something like that. Let me investigate. Let me check it out. Maybe he did. Maybe it's an explanation to it, but it doesn't what? Doesn't sound right if you hang out with somebody every day. You travel with somebody. You do business with somebody. That's my man. That's my homie. I know him like the back of my hand. You can't tell me nothing about Faisal. We did this together. We did that together. We fought. We argued. We got a scuffle once. You know what I'm saying? Who got dropped along all of them, but we even fought. That's how close we are, right? You can't tell me nothing about him. I've been with him 20 years. I know everything about him. You come along, you tell me he had this, that. No, wait a second. I don't know about that. So that is صاحبه إن لم يصحبوا نفسه أنفاسه صاحبه. قرأنا هذا. Scholars of Hadith, they live with the Prophet's breaths. Every moment of the Nabi al-Kareem waking up and so the Nabi al-Kareem going to sleep, they have the information. Hadithna, akhbarana. They learned his life. So someone comes along attributing something to him, and it goes against that which they know, their database, their spider senses are what? Are up. You guys get it or not? So 3 of these conditions pertain to the chain of narration, continuous chain, full of upright narrators, full of precise narrators. And 2 of these conditions pertain to the metin. So in other words, condition 4, no irregularity, لم يشذ قد يكون السند ايش؟ اتصل في الظاهر. ليش؟ في ظاهر اتصال، لكن هناك عدم سمع، هناك انقطاع لا يتبين إلا بالبحث والتنقيب في أحوال الرواة، فتبين أن بين هذا الشيخ وهذا التلميذ واسطة، وهو كذا، وهو ضعيف سيء الحفظ، وهم لم يسمع من فلان. عرفت؟ لكن في الظاهر السند ايش؟ متصل، سليم، نظيف. والرواة في الظاهر هم ايش؟ أصحاب عدالة، مسلمين، بالغين، عاقلين، أصحاب استقامة، خلاص. وفي الظاهر هم ايش؟ انهم ضبط، حفظوا، لكن تبين أن هذا الراوي إذا روى عن هذا الشيخ بعينه أخطأ ووهم، وإذا روى عن غيره حفظ واستقام. أنت معي ولا لا؟ أنت معي. Okay, so chain of narration, and for each of these 4 conditions, there are further conditions. What's meant by the continuous chain? What did we say? Narrators have to have what? met and heard. And they had to be what? Muslim, sane, of a certain age, and righteous and pious. Not evildoers, wicked people, righteous and pious people, whose piety will prevent them from lying, whose piety will prevent them from saying something that they're doubtful about. Because humans are going to forget. But I have too much piety to narrate something from the Prophet that I'm not 100% sure about. Everybody with me? And they have hifz, sharp, they're mentally there. We saw, we heard, we read. And you can't have any irregularities, something that goes against that which is well known, that which is established. And you can't have any hidden what? Defects. All right. Let's move forward. So in theory, we say what? Pay attention now. So in theory, this first hadith in Sahih Bukhari, Imam al-Bukhari heard from who? Humaydi. And Imam Humaydi had what conditions, what qualities?
Upright and precise.
He had to be a what? A Muslim. First and foremost, he has to be a what? If Humaydi was a Catholic or a Zoroastrian, so Humaydi is Muslim. What does he believe deep down inside his heart? It's not our place, it's not our business. It's between him and his Lord. Outwardly, he was Muslim, he was a believer. Everybody clear on this? And on top of him being a Muslim, he had to be of what? Of age. He couldn't be too young. And he had to be what? Mentally sane. Not suffering from a major mental disturbance. All of us are a little crazy, deep down inside, one level or another. Depression, this, they need it, right? But we're talking about a person who's a lunatic, clinically insane. Deemed what? Insane in the what? In the membrane. You guys with me or not? You sure? Right? Not a mental issue that you have. We all have, different things. You suffer from this every now and then. You have an anger problem. Every now and then you have an anxiety attack. We're talking about somebody who's considered to be, who deserves to be in an asylum. He's insane. All right? Also, Humaydi had to be someone who prayed in Jama'ah. Someone who made Hajj, paid zakat, fasted. He had to be someone who's righteous and pious, upright, good, solid Muslim. Let alone extra, above and beyond, having taqwa, being someone that you can bear witness. I testify, he's a pious man. I would marry him to my daughter. I would lend him money. I would do business with him, yes. What's between him and Allah? When I leave him and the doors are closed, I have no knowledge of knowing that. But I would bear witness for him in court, yes. I would put my reputation on the line for him, yes. I know Brother Musif. I traveled with him. I did this with him. Inshallah, he's a righteous man. Yeah, I will put in a good word for him. All right? And also, Humaydi, he has to have what? Nothing to do with his deen now. Number 3, he has to have what? With regards to his scholastics, he has to be what? Precise. He can't just be a pious worshiper. He can't just be a Quran reciter or a fiqh person. But he has to be someone who is a strong student of Hadith. He reviewed his notes. He memorized by heart, whatever the case may be, strength. And then he passed on the narration to his student and his pupil, whose name is Sufyan. And Sufyan has all of the characteristics as what? Humaydi. You got it? If he had more, if he was even stronger, that's fine. But at least they Yarwihi Anish Mithlihi. Someone like himself. Clear? Until the end of the chain that goes back to Lamar. Once it reaches the companion, it's done. Those conditions are over. All of the companions, Muslims, believers, all of the companions were who took the hadith from the Prophet were of age. Even if they were too young when they got the narration. One companion says that the Prophet played around him and he spat water in his face. And he narrated that narration when he was older. It's acceptable. There is no companion whose trustworthiness we are doubting and verifying. There's no companion who is saying, was he upright? If he's a Sahabi, There's no discussion. Understand? And for those who say and ask, well, can't the companions make mistakes? Can you guarantee that all the companions memorized? The companion would never narrate from the Prophet, and they were doubtful. And we have hundreds of examples of this. And when the companion says, I won't tell you, ask someone else. Kabirna wa nasina wal hadith wa Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam shadeed. We've grown old, we have forgotten, and it's a severe threat. Ask another companion, ask somebody else. Alright? So that's the chain. Those are the conditions of the narrators in that chain. It goes back to the Prophet, that the Prophet did, allowed, looked like what? What type of hadith is this here? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. That's a what? Qawli. Words of the Prophet. Exactly. What makes Imam al-Bukhari's book authentic, what makes it so authentic, super authentic, the most authentic book after the Quran, is that dealing with the fundamentals, now elementary theories. In theory, those 5 principles for every hadith that he quotes with his chain, those 5 conditions are fulfilled to the utmost. The most pious narrators, the most precise narrators. The narrators who didn't just meet their teachers once and they heard from them, but they studied with each other for years, a year, 6 months. I learned from you, I heard the hadith directly from you. Well, how can that? And there are no hidden defects. The chain of narration is clean. You get it? Brand new vehicle, or it's a pre-owned car, but for sure, this engine, this transmission is what? It's immaculate. The previous owner of this car took great care of it. It's immaculate. It's flawless, spotless, as if the car is brand new. You understand? No hidden what? Defects or blemishes or glitches. So Imam al-Bukhari's book would fulfill these conditions for every single hadith that he quotes with the chain and at the utmost. And in theory, and for argument's sake, Sunan Abu Dawud, the book that we talked about months ago, has many narrations that fulfill those 5 conditions, many hadiths that he shared with Bukhari, but there are other hadiths which fill the 5 conditions but in a lesser grade. And some hadiths that only fall in the grade of Hasan. And many hadiths which fail to meet those 5. Hence, it will be called Daif. Guys with me or not? So far, inshallah, simplified, easy, take home knowledge. Inshallah ta'ala. Alright. Now, before we move forward in the book, Hasan, that we explained that as well, how do we find out? Well, see? How do we find out who's who and what's what when it comes to these narrations, these reports? How do we determine who's a trustworthy narrator? How do we determine a pious narrator versus a wicked man who was a womanizer and a drunkard and a gambler and a thief? A highway robber, a murderer, a rapist. How do we determine these people who died so many years ago? That is through something that I told you brothers and sisters about, which is called Biographical Evaluation. Ilmul Rijal. Literally meaning knowledge of men, but more commonly understood as the science of narrators. And it deals with directly what? Hadith, which is the book that we're Al-Bayquniyyah. We got it? Alright, so obviously as a beginner, you're not going to delve too deep into this. You're not going to jump too deep into this. You're not going to go in depth, but you just have a basic understanding of how things work. Like anything else in life. Basic understanding of how things work. You build a house, you get an interior decorator. You don't know all the colors, the names, the fabrics, this and that, but you get the idea that there's some type of specialist that comes in and determines marble, cerulean blue. Now sky blue, the difference between aqua blue and turquoise, they aren't the same. Teal, different colors. This goes with this goes with that. Fashion, clothes, a tailor, a fashion expert, put this in a handkerchief in a pocket. It's done, right? Cufflinks, so on and so forth. You understand that there's a science to this. How do we determine which trendy? How do we determine what colors, what fabrics, culinary arts? How's the table supposed to look in a Michelin star hotel restaurant? You don't have to know all of that stuff, but you know that it's a science, and then there's specialists in that science. So in Islam, there's something which is called biographical evaluation, the significance, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used these men and women and used these sciences to preserve the deen. And if it wasn't for this, the fate of the Jews and the Christians would have befallen the Muslims. Understand? Things being made up and attributed to Christ that Christ never ever said. His apostles never said that. They never believed that about him. But there's no way of verification, so they say whatever they want to say. He's one of three. He's divine in nature. Celebrate Christmas. And the list goes on. And unfortunately, the less knowledge and awareness you find among the Muslims, the closer you'll find a resemblance to those lost nations. All right, understand this? The closer you'll find the what? The resemblance. And as time goes on, people make up what they want to say and become ignorant, and forefathers, ancestors, and we have Islam today, unfortunately. So know Allah's blessing upon you. Right? Okay. Biographical evaluation, companions, etc., etc. You can read all these things. One book, not the only book, there are many books. This is an example of one book, which is actually a starting place for those who read Arabic. And this science should be studied in Arabic. Of narrators is a book which is called HDVIP. HDVIP. Talif al-Hafiz Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, 852. And in this book, this is only one book, this is a primer. The author, Ibn Hajar, he discusses narrators. And he quotes their names, their tribes, their clans, who narrated from them, Qaf, Ibn Majah, Kha, Tala, Qaf, Bukhari, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Dal, Dawood, and he mentions their names. Alright? Here we have Fadl Nur, Sa'dan,
ويقال بشير الجهمي
Al-Juhani, من بني جهينة, Al-Qubbi, بضم القاف فيقال قبي ويقال قبي بضم ليش؟ بضم القاف وتشديد الموحدة يعني الباء نقطة واحدة لا الياء. فهمت لي؟ حتى لا يشتبه ولا يلتبس على القارئ النقاط والتشكيلات، يعني علم يعني مضبوط. فهمتني؟ متقن. بضم القاف قبي قو بضم القاف والتشديد الموحدة يعني تشديد الباء قب وكسرها. يقال بالضم ويقال بالكسر. هو من أي بلد؟ كوفي. من أصل البلد، نزل، ارتحل، تزوج، المهم سكن في هذا البلد لمدة 4 سنوات فأكثر. فقيل له الكوفي. بعدين قيل اسمه سعد. بعضهم يقول إن اسمه سعد. وسعدان لقب. قيل أن سعدان إيش؟ لقب. أن الاسم الحقيقي سعد. أنت معي؟ طيب إيش حاله؟ إيش حاله في الحديث؟ صدوق. ليس بالحافظ، ليس بأتقن رجل، ولكن ليس بأضعف رجل، ولا يتعمد الكذب، لا يكذب، لا يضع الحديث، وإنما هو إيش؟ صدوق. صادق اللسان وضبطه إيش؟ ماشي؟ ماشي حال. يعني فيكون راوي حديث إيش؟ أحسنتم. أنت معي؟ خف ضبط بعض الرجال لا يكون ضعيفا وإنما هو إيش؟ صدوق. طيب, moving forward, the brothers who don't speak English or Arabic, you stay with me inshallah. We'll get there. طيب, منصف سعد. تفضل سعد. Can't see you. Yusuf, تفضل صعب.
سعر بفتح أوله
بفتح
أول
ليس السعر وليس السعر وإنما إيش؟
سعر
بفتح
أول
ضبط. طيب وآخره
وآخره
راء ليس زاي أو ذال أو دال وإنما راء. سعر ابن
سوادة
سوادة أو
ابن
ديسر من بني
الكناني
الكناني. طيب
الديلي
الديل يعني البلدة القرية أو الحرفة. هناك نسب وهناك نسبة. قد يكون كوفي لكن جهني. بين جهينة القبيلة والكوفة إيش؟ البلد. فهمت الفرق؟ في فرق. قال مخضرم. ايش معنى مخضرم؟ وقيل له صحبة. Alright, so this narrator's name is Sa'd. He is called Mukhadram. A Mukhadram, Ali, is a man who lived during the time of the Prophet ﷺ as a Muslim, but he never met the Prophet. There are many people like this. They were alive. The Messenger of Allah was alive. They were in another country. And they never got a chance to meet him as a believer. They only made Hajj, they only went to Medina after the Prophet had passed away. They are not considered to be Sahaba. They have to have what? Met the Prophet. Everyone understand this? There's some people, subhanAllah, one narrator, he came to Medina moments before the Prophet ﷺ passed away. Think about that. Just like that. Heartbreaking. Moments before the Prophet died. But Allah's bounty he gives it to whom he wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was this close to being a companion, but it wasn't meant to be. So they're called mukhadra. And this person, some scholars, they argue and they say, rather, bal, lahu, minhum man yaqulu. So this shows you that they differ on these narratives as well. Alright, let's take one more example, inshallah. طيب. All right. Who's our next volunteer? Who's our next volunteer? Anybody? Bismillah. Let's go.
سعيد بن أبي بردة
ابن أبي
سعيد بن أبي أيوب الخزاعي
بني خزاعة مولاهم. He's not originally from that tribe. Either him or his father or grandfather used to be a slave, was manumitted and hence attributed to that tribe. Or there was a tribal alliance, or he was a mushrik and he accepted Islam through one of those tribal members. Hence he's attributed to that tribe. And we explained this when we talk about the Imams of Hadith. Remember? If you guys were here, remember? We explained it in detail. What country did he live in? Al-Muslim. He lived in Egypt for at least 4 years. Maybe he was from Egypt. Al-Muslim. His kunya is Abu Yahya. And he's the son of Niqlas. And he's a what? Thiqatun Thabtun. Strong narrator. Top notch. Precise. Razor sharp. So in theory, he will be a narrator in the chain of what? Bukhari. And his hadith will be called Sahih. Everyone understand this? All right, we're not here to discuss that in any more detail. That's just a dip into the world and how it works. So just imagine having thousands of hadiths in a book, and every single chain, you have to go through this tedious, meticulous process for each and every single narrator. It's a lot of hard work, but the fruits of that hard labor are extremely sweet. And that is you having the certainty, I'm a Muslim, and this is why. This is why I pray this way. This is why I break my fast eating this. This is why I make this supplication. This is why I recite this in the Salah. This is why I believe this about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have the certainty, you have the trust. And it's just an introduction. barely skimming the surface of the hard work required for this science. And of course, we see how many people, they don't want to study this or teach it, and they warn people from it because it's too real, it's too raw. It's not a watered down, adulterated science. It's a science that requires concentration and devotion, but the fruits of the labor are extremely sweet. The preservation of the deen. All right. How much time do we have left before the event?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. All right, tight. All right, so what's the last line that we explained? You guys can check out this book on your own time. We're just showing you some of the graphs, inshallah. What's the last line, Yusuf?
وكل ما عن رتبة
وَكُلُّ مَا عَنْ رُتْبَةِ الْحُسْنِ قَصْرٌ. Any hadith that doesn't fulfill the standards of Hasan is automatically called Da'if. But what if it's a famous hadith? What if the madhabs mention the hadith? What if it sounds so beautiful, as if the Prophet said it? It's still considered in this science to be Da'if. Is it to be used? Can it be used? Can it be mentioned? Those are all further discussions. Right now, we're grading and classing. That's it. You failed the exam. You're the best student in the class. But on paper, you what? In the discussion. Everybody understand this? He's the smartest one in the class, for sure. But he had a bad day. He came late. Something was going on. He had a death in the family. What's important is he failed the exam. You're the best player on the court, but you what? You missed it. You missed the shot. The game is over. You lost the series. We all know he's the most talented person out there. He deserves that ring and that trophy more than anybody else. But it doesn't what? It don't work like that. Winners and losers. Period. So any hadith which doesn't fulfill the conditions of Hasan is automatically called and considered Da'if. Alright. Let's see what they say. So that's the Sahih Hadith. We covered that. It's done. Finished. Of course, there are different homework assignments we can give. There are different exercises that you guys can do to really solidify and to get the point. And of course, to implement it in your daily lives as Muslims. Whether you're a scholar, whether you're a student, or whether you're a 9 to 5 Muslim. Right? Rumors and gossip. Divorce. Somebody said, my wife did this, my wife said that. How many men believe it? They go home angry, swear by Allah, Wallah, you're divorced. You said this about me, you did this. And she's talking about, what are you talking about? You divorced 3 times. When he should have done what? He should have implemented what? Huh? No doubt. My wife said what? Where did she say it? When did she say it? Who heard her say it? The person who said it, she said it. What's the nature of that person? Someone envious? A bitter, scorned woman who's divorced? Of course she's going to say that, because she doesn't want us to stay together and be happy. Someone that doesn't like me, etc., etc., etc. So the science of hadith makes your life better. And an example of that is that it prevents you from being a victim of gossip. And it prevents you from believing things and taking things in face value and then implementing those things incorrectly. Someone said this about me and said that about me without verifying the source. And جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا لماذا؟ أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة. طيب بعدين فتصبحوا على ما نادمين. Clear as day. You'll do something impulsively without checking it, without verifying it, and then after the smoke is clear, after the damage is done, oh man, that was a bad decision. I should have double checked. That person was a liar. That person was forgetful. That person has mental issues. That's why you think first before you what? Before you move. Science of hadith makes you a better Muslim. Makes you a stronger person. Makes you a better contributor to your society. And our society suffers from many ills. And from those ills is gossip. Lying. Hearsay. He said. She said. An impulse. Everybody with me or not? You can apply this to news. What's going on in this country, that country, they did this, they did that. Really? Let's verify it. Let's look at the chain of narration. How many babies were killed? How many babies were beheaded? How many babies were burnt alive? Let's see the forensic evidence. Show us. Why not? Let's see the footage of the people that were killed and slaughtered on that day. They can't share that information. They don't share that information because it doesn't what? Doesn't exist. But if you have no idea, no consciousness, no cognizance, you'll be like the 99% of the sheeple and just go along with the narration. They killed all these babies. They beheaded all these babies. They burned these people alive. They ripped babies out of mothers' stomachs. So therefore, they're human animals. Kill them, slaughter them. This is easy, literally. It's that easy. And most people, when they don't have a chain of narration, they get angry when you ask them for it. What are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything, but I would like for you to provide me with the source. That's all. Who did you get it from? You don't trust me? I do trust you. But I don't know who you got it from. So your life becomes better by knowing this and not practicing this. We can agree on this or not? All right, khair inshallah. So 5, 6, Hasan is done. And all of it falls short of the rank of goodness, Husn, then it is da'if, and it is of many types. Some hadiths are weaker than others. Some are okay to be mentioned and some are you can't mention. Some, for argument's sake, are okay to use and some cannot be used. They're extremely weak, fabricated, rather it's a lie. Alright? But all of them share one general quality, and that is they fail to meet the standard of Hasan. Everybody got that? Alright, so here's a graph that they mentioned here in this explanation. You have a narrator, grading, Imam Ahmed, Yahya Sa'id Qattan, both noteworthy imams. So one narrator, Bahz ibn Hakim, and his father. Alright, okay, that's not really that clear. It would have been better if they mentioned it and quoted it like what? How they did it with the first example. Alright, we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. We'll save some time for the questions. Hopefully, you guys have questions on the material. If you have no questions on the material, that's fine. I don't understand how. If you have no questions before the class, after the class, that means something is off with your study and your revision, as we said before. One of my teachers in Medina would always tell us not only to review the knowledge, toast, but prepare for the class before the class. He told us this. And then he came in the next day, a couple of days later, a couple of weeks later into the semester. He said, you guys, he says, you don't prepare for the class. So one student asked him, Chair, how do you know you don't prepare for the class? Do you know what I'm saying? How do you know that? He said, because you don't have questions for me. If you prepare for the class, you have 100 different things that you didn't understand or you need another example for. Alright? Khair inshallah. So if there are any on the topic, we'll start off with them first before we move on to the general questions by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go ahead, Akhi.
The part where you mentioned Prophet Muhammad, how did he die in what way?
How did the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam die? It's something that we should all know. That's your homework assignment. Next question. Ali. That's for next week, huh? Inshallah. Don't tell them the answer. No answer sharing. You gotta research that, okay? You got it? Well done.
What's the difference between the upright narrator and the precise narrator?
Upright narrator, precise narrator. Someone who's upright is the brother in the masjid who never ever misses the first takbir of the salah. Salat al-Fajr, he's the first one in the masjid. Salat al-Isha, he's the last one in the masjid. He fasts Mondays and Thursdays. He fasts 3 days every month. Ashura, Arafah. He pays zakat. He makes hajj every year. He reads the Quran. He finishes the Quran every 7 days. But it doesn't mean that he's sharp and precise. It doesn't mean that he's studious. It doesn't mean that he cares about knowledge. So just because a person is upright religiously or spiritually doesn't make him a strong student and teacher of the science. Clear on that? It's like basketball. You can be a huge basketball fan. He can know the game. I have season tickets on the court. That mean he can what? Don't make him play. Alright? He got all the memorabilia on. The hat, the jacket, the wristband, the headband, the sneakers, everything. But it don't mean he can what? Don't mean he can ball. You got it? Alright, tell you.
What's the difference between أخبرنا وحدثنا?
Inshallah, we'll take this after the event by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu a'lam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة
Question is regarding what are the differences, or what is the difference, if there is any, or if there is a difference between حدثنا and أخبرنا. In brief, it's more of an advanced concept. However, we did see it and read it. There are two views among the people of knowledge, two methods. The first is that they're synonymous. حدثنا أخبرنا سوا, same meaning. And the second method is that there are differences between the two. From those differences, some of the differences is that أخبرنا is when the student is receiving the narration from the sheikh from his book. He's reading it to them, and or they're reading to him, etc. Versus حدثنا, sheikh is directly narrating to them, slowly dictating it to them, giving them time to write it down, etc. Understood? So the scholars of hadith, like other scholars, different disciplines, many things they agree on, and many things they have different views on. Some say no difference, same difference, bismillah. And they can be used loosely. And others, they said no, to the finest, smallest detail, this is different than that. That's in brief. Allahu ta'ala.
What are the basic standards of an upright narrator?
What are the basic standards of an upright narrator? We mentioned them many times. The first, the most important condition is the narrator must be Muslim. And what's meant by the narrator being Muslim, في حال الأداء, لا ليس في حال التأمل, is when he narrates the report. A non-Muslim could narrate something, become a good Muslim, and then tell what he saw when he was a non-Muslim. There are different narrations pertaining to that. A narration that states that the man, before he was a Muslim, saw an animal making zina. Different animals, they have, different habits. Some animals are loyal, practice fidelity with one spouse until the end of the animal's life. So he saw an animal making zina with another animal. It wasn't his partner. And the other animals of that colony or pack or pride or troop, they stoned him to death. And he told that narration after he was a Muslim. And that's not here to talk about that, because it's very interesting. To show you the qubh zina, even in the animal kingdom. Alright? That's just an example of him being a non-Muslim. This is what I saw. I'm a Muslim now. I'm passing on information. His Islam now prevents him from lying and from making things up, etc., etc. So that's the most important condition of uprightness of the narrator is Islam. Number 2 is the Muslim is supposed to be, as it states, upright, doing that which is obligatory and avoiding that which is haram. With regards to his aqidah, with regards to his ibadah, and with regards to his akhlaq, his character and suluk and behavior. Some scholars add that a person is supposed to have good basic conduct outside of the religious laws, etc. Upright, have to be sane. We explained this. They cannot be insane. And they have to be of a certain age. Whether that's sexual maturity, puberty, 7, 9, but they can't be too young when they narrate, and they can't be too young when they pass it on. So a person has to stick to Islam and adhere to Islam to the best of his or her ability to be a qualified narrator. And of course, perfection is only for period. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Although,
What does it mean when they say like to do a takhrij of a hadith?
Takhrij of hadith is also an advanced question. Is you read a hadith in a book, a fiqh book, or tafsir book. It stated that the Prophet used the toothstick. He brushed his teeth before he prayed. Now the fiqh scholar, he's only quoting that for the fiqh benefit. Is it sound? You should brush your teeth before you pray. That's what he quotes in the book. I want to know where I can find this information. Is it actual? Did the Prophet brush his teeth before he prayed? I want to read it in the source. So you have to go back to the original sources. And what's meant by original source is a masdar, not a marji'. Riyadh al-Salihin is a marji', that's a reference. For Hadith Nawawi is a reference. Many people, they put this in books. أخرجه النووي في رياض الصالحين. هذا خطأ. Okay, Nawawi mentioned it. رواه أبو داود كما في رياض الصالحين. You have to go back to a book that has a chain of narration. He takes back to the Prophet. Where is it mentioned the Prophet brushed his teeth before he prayed? What's the nature of the hadith? Where is it found, etc., etc. Wallahu ta'ala, that's in brief, of course. Matthew, follow.
What if in the Isnad is multiple narrators who are Hassan level? It's Hassan?
What if in the chain of narration, the double narrators in the level? And perhaps we'll explain that more in this class, a couple every level. If both of them are fair narrators, not the best, but there's two fair ones, does it make it stronger? Can it make it sahih? Perhaps. But it's not the soundness of the sound. Understand? It's not the soundness of the sound. Allah Ta'ala. An alloy versus an original metal. Right? Two things being put together, mixed, versus something being pure. Right? You need two things to support this. Two weak legs on the table take the place, but that's not the same as one what? Solid leg. That's super, super strong and sturdy. Wallahu alam.
There's a balance to say that after the Quran, like what Imam Malik is the authentic source for.
Is it authentic to say that the most authentic book after the Quran is the Muwatta of Imam Malik? No, that's incorrect. Imam Bukhari's book is sounder. Imam Malik's book obviously is before Bukhari. Imam Malik is before Bukhari, the great Imam of Darul Hijrah. And his book is one of the most authentic books, but Bukhari's book is superior. for sure. There's no question about that, technically speaking. Wallahu ta'ala alam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.